Hey, it's your favorite Kansas nurse. And we all know I'm in nurse practitioner school and I'm working on bettering my education, and that I did not have a great childhood, right? And I haven't had the traditional education and I haven't had a traditional life, and that's a story for another time. But while I'm in school, I'm currently doing clinicals. So I'm going and working with a nurse practitioner, and I met another student. And in both of these situations, it's really interesting because the student is also a nurse practitioner student, and they are talking about how they had a traditional college experience. They got a scholarship for swimming. They did all of these things. And my preceptor had a fairly decent childhood, but she had a kid early and then didn't have that traditional experience. And then there's me who, is an orphan. I don't really have any family, and I had a different experience too. My instructor, or my preceptor, she got a scholarship as well. I did not. And it made me realize that, like, unless you are in a certain situation and you know certain people or you live a certain life, you don't get the same benefits. Now, if you're really poor and you're a minority, you're more likely to get a scholarship. But if you're poor and you're white, as people perceive me to be, and I don't even know my own ethnicity, I don't get the same benefit. And this is even back in like early 2000s, the 90s as well, because I was born in the 90s. And yet you'll see middle class students, they'll get the scholarships because they were able to do the extracurriculars, while I was literally just trying to survive my life. So these are things that we don't actually talk about in our society, because all we say, oh, white privilege, white privilege, white privilege. Well, I am white and I was in an impoverished situation, and yet I didn't get any type of scholarship. I didn't get any type of help with school. I didn't get anything. The only reason I'm where I'm at is because I had the desire and the drive to, and I worked, multiple jobs and sacrificed time with my family, and I almost made myself sick to the point that I was very unwell until I figured out with my thyroid. And yet we want to continue to say it's white privilege. And we want to continue to say that people get advantages and everything else like that. Like the same girl, the student that I'm with, she's like, oh, well, I only have to work part-time. I can't do that because I don't have any generational wealth. I don't have any family. I don't have any of that. My husband and I are both trying to make things better in our lives. So when you start to think about, these things in people's lives and you start to break it down, you start to realize it's not about race. It's about socioeconomic status. But if you say it like that, if you say, oh yeah, when I came from the ghettos to do better in life, and now I feel like I'm being punished for doing better in life, people look at you funny because all I hear about is white privilege. Well, you couldn't have been in the ghettos. You couldn't have been poor. You're white. Okay, but I was. Like, we were homeless. We didn't have food. We didn't have all of these things. I ended up in and out of foster care. I don't even have family anymore because I don't know where they're at. I left home at 16. And yet most people want to equate that with a certain demographic. So I want people to start thinking about looking at where a person is and ask them, hey, did you have this situation? Did you have this situation? Did you have this situation? And start realizing where they're falling. Because it's not race. It's money.